We're live.
Parfait, merci beaucoup. Good evening, everyone. Bonsoir tout le monde. We'll get this next virtual meeting started. Item 1, roll call. I'll ask every member of council to announce your name and your presence, please.
Michael Ternosky, present.
André Brisson, présent.
Jamie Lauren here.
Cindy Saucier here.
Perfect. And our clerk, Madame Joanne.
Yes, I'm here, Joanne.
Parfait. Item 2, prayer, not in virtual, same thing with the national anthem. Item 4, additions, deletions, or amendments. We have a few changes. We're going to remove item 20, closed session, item 4, but we're going to add a 6 closed session item under the same heading as number 3, which is potential acquisition or disposition of land in the village of Emblem. And we also are adding item 18B for conseiller Brisson, route 300 detour status. So I need moved by conseiller Brisson, seconded by Councillor Ternosky. You guys are okay with that?
Oui.
Wait.
Okay, so we'll adopt the agenda as modified. All those in favor?
Yes.
Oui.
Yep.
Yes.
Anybody against? No? Carried. Item 6, déclaration d'intérêt pécuniaire.
No.
Hearing none. On va aller item 7, l'adoption des procès-verbaux. Procès-verbal de la séance ordinaire du conseil le 19 mai 2020. Motion d'approuver le procès-verbal tel que présenté. Moved by Councillor Lorrain, seconded by Councillor Saucier. You guys okay with that?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay. All those in favor?
Oui.
Yep.
Yes.
Perfect. Anyone opposed? Hearing none, carried. Item 8, presentations, we have none. Item 9, délégation pétition, on n'a pas. Item 10, consent item, minutes of the Russell Historical Society for March 9th, 2020. Normally I'd separate this item so we can pose questions, but technically it's the only item in consent item, so we can just go ahead and ask questions. If anybody has any questions.
I have a question.
Yeah.
I thought we weren't allowed to ask questions on consent items.
If it's removed from the other items, you're allowed to ask questions before the actual vote. But it's the only item, so we can remove it from itself, but it's kind of pointless to do that. So we'll just open the questions on that item. Councillor Ternosky, you have a question? Yes, Madam
Did you want to move or seconder first before we question?
Sure, we can do that. So moved by Conseiller Brisson, seconded by Councillor Saucier. You guys okay with that?
Oui.
Yes.
Okay, so now we'll move to the all those in favor of having questions on this item.
Oui.
Okay, so
Yes.
we'll go ahead with questions. Councillor Ternosky.
Thank you. So I just wanted to ask Township. So in the minutes, it talks about a plaques coming in 2020, 2 plaques coming in. And so I just wanted to check in with Township that we're on the same page, and this is part of the Township plaque program. So just kind of, I guess, just to make sure that we're all on the same page, that we're not doing 2 different things here. Just,
Okay.
I guess, an update would be appreciated. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Ternosky. Monsieur Leduc.
Members of Conseil, members of Council, good evening, bonsoir. As I read through the minutes also, I noticed those 2 plaques. As you know, last year we had a partnership with the Circle Society about those plaques. As of this year, I have not had any exchange with the Historical Society regarding the plaques. So tonight I could not say if these are going to be different plaques than our historical plaque program, or if they will want to partner with us regarding this historical plaque program. So I've read that they were there. We have planned in our budget to have some, but not necessarily, we're not planning to go there necessarily. We want to go in Embrun and maybe other locations. But we have yet to have an exchange with the Historical Society regarding those particulars of this year. We had discussed last year, that might be those plaques that they will be considering. But to this point, I have no official confirmation that we are partnering in this program. So I have no idea if they are separate or the same plaque program.
Okay. Thank you very much, Monsieur Leduc. I know that we had a meeting scheduled with the president, vice president, and I believe it was the secretary treasurer of the Historical Society back in March. Unfortunately, with everything that happened, that kind of went up in the air. So we're going to have to reach out to Historical Society to get that back on track as a virtual meeting, or if when they increase the number of people in the same room. One thing I wanted to ask as well, probably won't have the answer tonight, but definitely that based on the minutes we'll have to look at is, in the minutes they're talking about moving some walls, I think they're talking about the temporary walls when you go into the church museum. But obviously any changes they're looking at making, they have to be able to verify with staff whether, township gives its consent for these type of as not necessarily structural changes, but if there's changes to be made, that township has to be at least made aware and have that discussion with them. So I think that should be put back on our list, Monsieur Leduc, just to reschedule that meeting as soon as possible to have those discussions.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I'll speak with you and we'll try to organize a meeting as soon as possible so we can get some of these elements discussed and agreed to as soon as possible.
If I can just add something.
Yeah, Councillor Tonoski, go ahead.
So my reason for the questioning is that I think that right now, given the pandemic, obviously this is not a major priority, but I know from my tourism expertise or background is that local tourism is going to be probably more popular than ever before. And the opportunities that arises with us having a good plaque program, I think it's really important that we are all on the same page for that, and that we have something in the works so that we could have, draw local visitors to come for the daytime visitors, and this will have a really good positive economic impact on our communities. So I just want to make sure we do it right, and that we don't, fall behind on that. And so, yeah, I just wanted to make sure of that comment. Thank you.
Okay, perfect. Conseiller Brisson?
Je voulais juste savoir aussi si avec ces plaques-là, ça avait été considéré d'avoir le square, que le monde peut le scanner pour avoir de l'histoire un peu plus avec cette information-là de cette plaque-là. Je sais qu'on a vu ça à bien des places. Je sais que tu as besoin d'avoir un site qui est relié, mais tant qu'à faire les plaques, si elle pouvait avoir ces squares-là, ça fait de l'histoire. Ça ne prend pas grand place, home bilingue, là.
Je crois que les plaques existantes, ils ont l'adresse du site web pour plus d'informations sur la plaque comme telle. Monsieur Leduc peut me corriger if I'm wrong. I believe the address is there. The only thing with the QR code, I know it's a link to the address bar, but if ever changes are made to items on the website, that QR code might become invalid down the road. So I think having the general site on there, that people log on, because on your mobile device you can log on right there from it doesn't need to be a special app or anything. You just punch in the address and you'll go straight to the information. Monsieur Leduc?
That's correct, Mr. Mayor. So that's why on the website there is all the additional information that the Historical Society has prepared for us for last year's plaque. So the full length details of the origin of the plaque and the reason why the plaques are there has been drafted. It's there available on the website. So if you're on site, like you're correct, Mr. Mayor, with your cell phone, you can just go into our website and you'll get the plaque section, and you can find the details of that plaque online. So the QR code was an issue. We were questioning that technology through times. I think websites are going to be there for a while. The QR codes could have been outdated in a few years from now. That's why we chose to go with the website information instead of the QR code.
Okay, parfait. Merci beaucoup. D'autres questions à ce point-ci? No. So we have a mover and a seconder. I'll ask for the vote. All those in favor?
Well, yes.
Oui.
Yep.
Yeah, so carried. We'll move on to the next item, item 11, reports from departments and council committees. Modification au règlement sur les enseignes, rapport PIC 07-2020 concernant l'élargissement des routes. That council receives report PIC 07-2020 dated June 1st, 2020, and as recommended in this report, approves the proposed amendment to sign bylaw 2016-052 by amending section 8 rules for all signs and adding section 8.7 relating to road widening. Questions from members of council on this item? Conseiller Lorrain?
It's not necessarily on this item, Mr. Mayor. In terms of the question period, I don't know if you made a statement at the beginning of the meeting or not about the question period being open, or people can go ask questions. I just thought I'd bring that up now that we're getting into reports.
Okay.
It'd probably be good if people have questions, so.
Yeah, anybody who has a question can type it in at this point in time, and when we get to the question period, then we might have some questions ahead of time ready to go. So any questions in regards to this report? Hearing none, anything to add from the administration? Hearing none. Okay, we'll move on to the next item. Item B, grant payment to Russell Watch, report PIC 08-2020. The council receives report PIC 08-2020 dated June 1st, 2020, and approves early payment of the budgeted grant allowance to Russell Watch. This one-time exception is conditional to Russell Watch agreeing to meet with the administration to establish a structure to address our budgetary preoccupations. Questions, members of council?
I have a question. Oh,
I do
sorry.
too. No, you go ahead, Mike.
No, you go ahead.
Oski, and then Councillor Socia.
So if I understand correctly, we have a coordinator, or there is a coordinator in the program that gets a certain monthly allocation. And then there is, so that's part of the budget, and then the rest of the budget is essentially for gas cards. Is that correct?
I was always under the impression, based on discussions we've had in the past, Embrum, I know Councillor Lorrain, maybe you can fill me in. You sat on the committee in the past. I don't know if they've made these recent changes, but in the past, Embrum used to, all the funds pretty much went to a coordinator and there was no gas cards given. And Russell was the opposite. There was no coordinator, but gas cards were given. But based on this information, it's changed. Are you aware of anything, Conseiller?
I'm not aware that it changed. I don't know. I know that Wendy Mitchell was moving out of the role of being the responsible person to coordinate everything. I guess a couple of years back now, and I think Bruce Woolsey takes care of the reporting aspect. And I think last time I was aware, Kevin Bird was the treasurer who actually took care of a lot of the stuff now. So in terms of, I don't believe they changed the model of paying a specific person to do the work like Embrum did and probably still does, where one person gets 90% of the money and then the rest is for other things, versus Russell, where it is 90 to 95% all gas cards to the volunteers. Unless Madame Bouldeau knows anything different on that front, but that is my understanding from the last meetings that I was at.
Okay, Monsieur Leduc, Madame Bouldeau, anything to add to the report?
Yes, there's no person coordinating per se. There's Wendy's paid to find people to go out. So half the money is basically given to finding people to do patrols.
Okay.
So that's how it works.
So if I may.
Okay. Councillor Socia, I think you had a question?
Yeah, well, and I believe they are compensated for their gas that they use in their own car. And it's Wendy Murray, that was the person. But what my comment just was is that, you know, I just sort of feel it's really important now more than ever that we support this, because, you you know, with the summer months coming and people are getting a little crazy and there's I think there could be potentially a lot more incidents, and it would be great to have those volunteers.
Okay. All right. Councillor Tanoski, did you have a follow-up question?
Yes, please. So I just need to clarify, and Councillor Saucier, I 100% support it. I just want to make sure that it's that financially that it makes sense, you know, because we're coming into the summer and there's already a shortfall. So I just want to be sure that it's not an ongoing thing. So if we have it was called, the position was called coordinator, and so I just assumed that the coordinator would ensure that it's planned out, like the schedule's planned out over the season, and what we give him as a grant, it covers that off. And so I'm just concerned that if we're at this stage of the year and we're already in a shortfall, what happens long term? So it's just more like learning about this process than anything else, and just ensuring that it's financially stable, I guess.
Yeah, I think that's part of the reasoning behind this resolution, is to give direction to the staff to have that meeting with Russell Watch and make sure that there's a proper structure in place, that it follows budgetary what's available to them. Conseil Lorrain?
Yeah, just to say, just to reiterate for Councillor Tarnowski, I don't think the amount was ever 100%. I think it had gone up in the past and reduced, and the numbers over my tenure anyway has been very up and down, been stable over the last few years in terms of the funding amount that we give, but they relied on some individual donations at times as well that probably aren't coming in right now either. So I can definitely see the fact that they've tapped into needing some funds earlier than what they normally did. Maybe they're doing more patrols right now and they're giving out more gas cards. Gas has gone down too, so that's a good thing. So maybe hopefully that triggers some of that extended funding. But I don't think that they were ever running on I think they were always playing catch up with the dollar amounts. So, you know, it's not back to where it was, but they were living off of what we were, you know, whatever amounts that we were willing to give them every year. So.
Okay, thank you very much, Councillor Lorrain. Any other questions, members of council? Anything else to add from the administration, Monsieur Leduc?
Yes, members of council. Well, I was concerned. We're using taxpayers' dollars. I think they were overspending. Nobody was really responsible of the spending. That's why I raised many questions in my different emails with the group. The report here only excludes you from many of the questions I raised, but I was seriously concerned with the way they were spending their money in the first 6 months of the year. So that's why I've asked in the report that I was not going to sign that report if it was not mentioning anything about us sitting down with them and discussing that, because I feel that there's an issue to be resolved here at that level. And that's why I recommend to council and our recommendation that we meet with them to exchange with them our concerns, because if we had not advanced this money, either there's 2 months going short in the summertime, or there's 2 months going short at the end of the year, or the lack of funding. So for me, it raises big concerns, and it's taxpayers' dollars, and I think we need to sit down with them and have a serious talk regarding how is this being spent.
Thank you very much, Mr. Leduc. And I tend to agree. There are, you know, we will have those discussions, and it might be simple little things that need to be clarified. If there is no real structure, if you will, or, you know, set, because I don't believe this is an actual registered organization. I think this is really just a few volunteers who kind of took up the mantle as years go by, but I don't think there's an actual structure in place or an organization in place that it can apply for outside funds or outside grants or that kind of stuff. I know Bernard has been a registered organization, non-for-profit, for years and years. I'm not sure if Russell Watch has that same in place, but definitely we'll have staff can have discussions with them to try and improve and find solutions to how everybody can work within the budget that's allocated from council. Conseil Lorrain?
Yeah, I just wanted to bring up, I don't know if it's for Debbie or whatnot, whoever's managing the teams. but I don't know if you guys hear it, but I'm hearing the playback of the audio.
Yeah.
I think we're catching the presentation version that's going out to the public on a delay.
Yes, I hear that too.
So somebody who has their mic on, essentially, if you're looking at the other side of the live event on another event with the sound on, it's being caught through our microphones or your microphone. So if anybody's watching it, just silence the other item. And I don't hear anything at the moment, so I think we probably address that issue right now. Okay, thank you very much, Conseil Lorrain. Okay, if there's no further questions on this item, we'll move on to the next. Item C, Landfill Annual Monitoring Report, Report ISPW 14-2020. The council acknowledges receipt of the 2019 Landfill Annual Monitoring Report. Questions, comments, members of council?
I have one.
Councillor Sosi and then Councillor Tarnowski.
I saw that in the action plan, they had requested that trees were planted, and I know we planted some, and then they were suggesting more in 2021. So I'm just wondering how many were planted at the landfill site.
Okay.
That's the first question. I have one other one.
Okay, let's try and get an answer for that one. Monsieur Leduc, Monsieur Bourgon.
Merci, Monsieur Maire. I'm just currently looking for how many thousands were planted in April at the landfill. I don't remember the exact number, but it's around 3,000 trees. That was already planned with South Nation as last year. So that's why it was reflected in our closure plan. There's other areas where they recommend planting trees, but unfortunately those areas currently are being used for agricultural use. So it's not possible to have trees at this time.
All right, thank you.
And then the other question I had was, it was on page 17 of the landfill gas monitor, and it said the parameters were supposed to be, like, they were too high, but it said 0 to 50% for the LEL, which is the lower explosive limit. So is that an error, 50%? That seems awful high.
Monsieur Leduc, Monsieur Bourgon.
Councillor Saucier, I would have to confirm. I don't have the answer for you at this time. So I'll have to look into it and get back with the exact answer.
It was about the methane gas and then the possibility of explosions. So that was something I was concerned about. And then the other question I had was from page 21, they were talking about the leachates and the chloride being very high. Is this a concern for the neighboring residents?
Monsieur Bourgon?
For their wells?
And at this point, it's not. And that's the reason why we are monitoring all those neighboring wells to make sure that it doesn't impact them.
And it's being tested twice a year, it said, every spring and fall.
And we actually, starting this year for 2020, we are gonna start monitoring a few more as well. And that's part of the township being more diligent. Okay. So that's part of the program, and those residents receive the result of their test wells annually as well. Okay,
merci. That was it. Say two.
All right, Councillor Tarnowski, you had a question?
Yeah, so it's more of a statement. This document is public, right? Public access, so our residents could see this?
Yeah, it's available on the agenda.
Okay, so I just want to say a couple of things pertaining to the report. So excellent report. I learned a lot about landfills, which I had no idea about, leachate, landfill capping, and so on. And actually, to answer, and I'm just going to say, like, the gas concentration is 0.05%, and not 50%. I think the limits that they're allowed is 5 to 15 is where it gets dangerous. But that's what, anyways, I put that in my notes because I found that very interesting. All right. Anyways, very good report. Thank you.
Thank you. Other questions, members of council?
I had one more.
Okay.
I just saw it here. Yeah, it was talking about on page 15, the final cover, like what we were covering the landfill with, and that there was one side where it needed more cover, and what I read was compost and clay was used. They were talking about what was, the cover that goes over the landfill. So that was on page 166. So what are we using? Like, is that what is being covered with? Or we put vegetation or?
I'll ask Monsieur Leduc, Monsieur Bourgon.
When we did the capping a few years ago, clay was used, and we did put we had some piles of compost and peat, so we sprayed that on top of the clay to create some ground for vegetation to grow.
Okay, merci.
Perfect. Quelque chose d'autre à ajouter, Monsieur Bourgon?
Non, c'est monsieur.
All right, perfect. Thank you very much. On va aller à la prochaine item. Item D, modification du drain municipal Brisson-Masse, rapport ISPW 15-2020. Que le conseil reçoit le rapport ISPW 15-2020 et approuve la demande de Robert Bourdeau de continuer le processus de modification du drain municipal Brisson-Masse et de prolonger la nomination de McIntosh Perry Engineering comme firme d'ingénieurs responsable de la modification du drain Brisson-Masse. Questions, comments, members of council? Council associate?
Yeah, I was just curious. Well, first of all, why it needed to be modified, like what kind of modifications are being done to it, and does South Nation have to be involved with that? Because it's a municipal drain.
Yeah, Monsieur Leduc, Monsieur Bourgon.
Merci, Monsieur le Maire. So that process was started almost 2 years ago. Council did appoint McIntosh Perry on that task after the request of Monsieur Bourdeau. So basically, they want to tile that drain for a future development. And yes, South Nation are involved in those process. They need to follow every step of the municipal act. And since it's been too long and no report have been submitted at this point, that's why they need to ask for an extension of that nomination. And that's why the reason why that request came again in front of council.
Okay, thank you. Merci.
D'autres questions, membres du conseil? Anything else for members of council? No. Anything to add, Monsieur Bourgon?
No, merci.
Okay. Move on to the next item. Item E, Fire Department Quarterly Report, Report Russ M 02-2020. That council receives report Russ M 02-2020 dated June 1st, 2020. Any questions from members of council? Councilor Associate?
Yeah, I was just curious about the malfunctions that were reported. Like, is that normal or common that there's that many?
We'll ask the fire chiefs. I'm not sure which fire chief is there. Monsieur Chief Duhamel? I think you got to turn your mute off, Monsieur. We can't hear you. You might have to unplug your ear set completely. Pull it out. No, unfortunately, we can't hear you. Technical difficulties for the moment. No, okay. So we won't.
Next time.
Yeah, maybe just Chief, if you could send us off an email for that question whenever you have a moment. Any other questions, members of council? Okay, I'm assuming Chief had nothing to add at this point in time. If he needs to, he can add it to that email. Thank you very much. All right, we'll move on to the next item. Item F, removal of part lot control referred to bylaw at item 16. Property is owned by Melanie Construction and known as 701-703 Azure Street in Russell. Part lot control is pretty standard. Any questions, members of council? No. Anything to add from the administration? Hearing none. Okay, we'll move on to the next items. Item 12, reports from an investigator and the ombudsman. We have none. Item 13, notice of motions. We have none. Item 14, question period on meeting of the day. So I see that we do have a question that's listed currently. This will be in relation to the landfill by Charles Armstrong, 85 Castlebeau in Embrun. Under agenda item 11C, question 1, what can be planted on the landfill cap? Okay, Monsieur Bourgon.
Monsieur Maire, on the top of the landfill itself, only grass can be planted.
Okay. Question 2. On private land surrounding the WDS waste disposal site, are there use restrictions other than perhaps water use restrictions on the private land surrounding the site?
There's currently only one parcel of land where the township has an easement, and it's the water rights restriction. So that's the limitation for that parcel of land. So the farmer, the owner of that farm can still use it for farming purposes.
Okay. Question 3, what mitigation measures are being contemplated for the RUC lands on the west, north, and northeast sides of the waste disposal site? RUC, if you can clarify what RUC is.
I'm not sure if I do understand the question, but currently we do have monitoring wells along all our property to make sure that the plume of pollutant doesn't exceed our limit boundaries.
Okay. You had a fourth question here. If the Embrun wells were shut down in 2010, why does the MOE have a 50,000 liter per day permit to take water for the wells?
We did maintain our permit to take water several years after the wells were shut down because we were still maintaining the plant itself. But at one point in time, we stopped renewing that permit, and that's when we decommissioned the plant itself.
Okay. Item agenda, Councillor Saucier.
I was just going to explain RUC is reasonable use conditions or criteria.
Okay. Thank you very much. And then we have Monsieur Brisson.
Oui, c'est juste savoir, quand il parlait de la station de pompage, est-ce qu'on l'avait vendu à un privé? Je sais qu'à un bout de temps, c'était à vendre. Je pensais que ça avait été vendu, puis je ne sais pas s'il en prend encore de l'eau.
Monsieur Bourgon.
Merci. Donc, nos puits ont tous été décommissionnés plusieurs années passées, puis oui, on a vendu le plein l'an passé.
OK.
Puis est-ce qu'il y a de l'eau qui se prend par cette personne privée-là, du plein?
À ce moment-ci, je ne peux pas répondre à votre question. Je sais que nos puits municipaux, eux, ils n'existent plus. Donc, si le propriétaire privé décide de se faire un puits à lui, ben là, c'est au-delà de la municipalité. Là, on n'a pas le contrôle là-dessus.
C'est un puits privé.
OK. Ça fait que le puits a été... Je pensais qu'on avait vendu les pompes, puis le puits à l'autre, aux choses privées, là, à une compagnie.
Non, l'édifice et le terrain, mais tous les puits étaient déjà enterrés, étaient déjà décommissionnés au moment de la vente. Puis c'était un critère que nous, on devait rencontrer auprès du ministère.
Ah, OK. C'est bon.
Parfait. And we other questions, agenda item 20A, what facility or property taxes being considered for renewal? Item 20A, 2, 3, and 4. What are the intended purposes of these lands for acquisitions? Monsieur Legic, these are closed session items.
Yes, ma'am, Mr. Mayor. Yes, they are closed item sessions. So at this point, the topics are listed, and that's what we can say at this time.
Okay, thank you.
Either there'd be a report coming back to council if council requests that, or there'll be a bylaw if council ever makes a decision on those land disposal or acquisition, or simply receive for information at this time.
Correct. Obviously, we don't want to tip our hands when we're discussing, you know, proposed or pending acquisition of land. All right, perfect. So that was the only questions asked. We'll move on to the next item, item 15, resolutions. Motion that council approves all recommendations listed on the agenda under item 11, reports from department and council committees. Moved by Conseiller Tarnowski, seconded by Councillor Saucier. You're okay with that?
Wait,
Yes.
Okay, call for the vote. All those in favor?
yes,
Oui.
Yep.
Yes.
Okay, no one opposed, carried. Item 16, bylaws. Motion that council approves bylaws 2020-063 and 2020-064 inclusively for the first, second, and third reading as listed on the agenda. Moved by Conseiller Lorrain, seconded by Conseiller Brisson. You guys are okay with that?
Oui.
Yep.
Okay, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor?
yes,
Oui.
Yep.
Yes.
Perfect. Item is carried. Thank you. Item 17, new business reports. We have none. Item 18, other business presented by council members. Item A, myself for Culvert Edition. This was just to inform council and see if you're in agreement to get a little bit of information in a report, perhaps in 2 weeks or at one point in the near future. I have a resident who reached out who lives on Wade Road, who is interested in putting a culvert on Wade Road, which would essentially give him access to the back of his property so that he can park his RV. There is currently 4 or 5 culverts in place already with neighbors, but township actually has an easement there. And I believe Councillor Lorrain mentioned there was actually another person who was looking to do the same thing. So this is, we have a policy in place. So perhaps if we could give direction to the administration to bring back a report with further information and see what the hurdles are, what's the pros and cons of allowing this to move forward, or you know, there might be a policy change in place needed for this. Township wide, currently I only have the requests from Wade Road. So I'm just looking for feedback if council would be okay with requesting the administration to bring back a report. Conseiller Lorrain?
Yeah, so yeah, there was another person that reached out to me just the other day. I think Mr. Bourgon has been interacting with them back and forth. And I know that staff are probably handcuffed with a policy or a bylaw or some sort of a procedure that they are working off of. And you know, similar to when we talk about the emergency grant, or not the emergency grants, the community grants, and you gotta stay within those guidelines. That's probably what they're doing here, but I believe that there has been I guess exceptions made in the past, because there are many people on that street that, because the backyards are so big in that area, that they've been allowed to build that entrance to park their RVs. I think the other thing that happened too over the years is that there was a section of that road that was reduced speed from 80 down to 50. So I agree. I think a report needs to come back as soon as possible to council to review and see whether or not we can look at the reasons behind why there's this policy in place or the bylaw in place that does not allow them township wide, and if we need to make it localized to a localized exception for that area because there's already so many, then so be it. But I definitely think something needs to be done there, because it's difficult to say, well, my neighbor 2 doors down can do it, neighbors 2 doors down can do it, and I can't. Like, I need to understand the reasoning behind the policy, I guess it is. So
okay,
I agree. I think something needs to come back.
Okay, thank you very much. Monsieur Leduc, Monsieur Bourgon, is this something that could be brought forward in not too long of time, or?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It's something I think it's reasonable to bring back next council meeting with all the information regarding those requests and the why it was denied from administration.
Okay, perfect. I think the fact that there's an easement in place has some obviously legal impact, or that will be definitely needed to make a change since we have an easement there, but that'll be part of the report. So thank you very much, Councillor Associate.
Do we have a ballpark figure of what a culvert costs?
Culvert, I believe, would be the cost would be to the landowner, to the homeowner. It wouldn't be a township cost.
Okay. All right.
Monsieur Brisson?
Oui, juste faire sûr aussi si on pouvait avoir soit comme photo ou diagramme pour avoir du visuel, parce que je suis plus visuel de voir la situation et tout ça, là, fait que si on pouvait avoir dans le rapport ça serait bien apprécié.
Parfait, merci beaucoup. All right, Councillor Laurent?
Yeah, I'm just wondering too, I mean, so this report's going to come back, let's say it's June 15th, I think it is, and it's going to tell us what's going on and whatnot. And we have two outstanding, I know we have two outstanding, I don't know if there's any more than that, so Mr. Bourgon can speak to that, but there's two right now that are awaiting, and if council does feel the need to say, yes, we will make an exception or we will allow these to go through, when can that actually happen? Because our next meeting isn't until August after the next meeting, right? And I don't believe that that if we're going to do it, we need to wait till August and have the whole summer go by and they can't get the construction in, because there's chances are they probably already have people that are waiting to do the construction on those items. So I just want to make sure we consider that as well, that it's going to be 2 months before we meet again.
Okay, thank you very much, Monsieur Leduc.
Mr. Mayor, conseil. Well, I think there'll be a discussion later on getting a special meeting, probably before the end of June. So most likely there'll be an opportunity there to bring that back if council gives us a direction by end of June.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, that was my item. Item B, Conseiller Brisson, in regards to the Route 300 detour.
Yeah, just having an update.
Okay, Monsieur Bourgon, if you can give us an update on the current closure.
Merci, Monsieur Maire. At this time, the section of Route 300 between Saint-Augustin and Saint-Pierre will remain closed. We spoke with the contractor and the material cannot arrive on site until late June. So the construction was planned for the first week of July. So we're still looking at the same time frame to start the replacement of those culverts.
Okay. Obviously, we'd like to get it faster, but if the material is not available to do the work, it's kind of hard to do that. So beginning of July. Okay.
C'est parfait, merci.
Merci. Okay. That's it for item 18. 19, public consultation and hearings. We have none. Monsieur Leduc.
Oops.
Oui, Monsieur le Maire, si je voulais juste ajouter à l'item 18B, considérant la période de temps requis, je vais quand même demander à M. Bourgon, son équipe, de faire des communications médias sociaux pour donner l'aperçu aux gens que c'est quand même pas, les travaux ne se feront pas avant le début juillet comme prévu. So I'll just be asking that social media posts be still put out there so that people understand why and when is it planned to be taking place. So we'll make that, since it's going to be a month before we work on this, I think people need to know why this is happening.
Okay, great idea. Thank you very much, Monsieur Leduc.
Ouais. Merci.
Okay. We'll move on to item 20, closed session. Motion to move into closed session at the hour of 6:44 p.m. to address matters pertaining to Section 239 of the Municipal Act 2001, SO 2001, Chapter 25, to consider matters relating to 1. Lease renewal report CS08 2020, Section 2C, a proposer pending acquisition or disposition land by the municipality or local board. Item 2, proposer pending acquisition of land, verbal report under Section 2C, a proposer pending acquisition or disposition land by the municipality or local board. Item 3, update on the proposed or pending acquisition of land in Emblem, verbal report. Section 2C, a proposer pending acquisition or disposition of land by the municipality or local board. Item 4 was removed. Item 5 was closed session minutes of the regular council meeting dated May 4th, 2020. And item 6 was the same as number 2, proposer pending acquisition of land or verbal report. So moved by Councillor Konoski, seconded by Conseiller Laurent. You guys are okay with that?
Yes. On our
Yep.
agenda, on the agenda, it doesn't start till 9:30. Does that have an impact on whether it's going to work or not?
No, not at all. We'll be able to sign in, not a problem. So you two are okay with that? All those in favor?
Wait,
Oui.
Yep.
Yes.
Perfect. So for
Mr. Mayor,
yes.
can you just repeat who was the mover and seconder, please?
Yeah, Councillor Tarnowski and Conseiller Laurent.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. So for members of the public, if this is your first time in a virtual council meeting, members of council and some of the administration will be leaving this meeting. We'll be signing on to a closed session meeting that's closed to the public. We'll be having our discussions, and afterwards we will come back to this live meeting and report out of closed session before we finish with our council meeting this evening. So thank you very much for those who are going to stick around, and if not, for everybody else, have a great evening. We will now go into closed session. Thanks, everybody.
Jean, est-ce que tu m'entends? Faut que tu enlèves ton mute.
Ouais.
OK.
Oui, je vais te laisser savoir une fois qu'on parle du renouvellement du bail à Étienne Brûlé.
OK. Fait que après, tu vas me texter, I guess?
Oui, c'est ça,
Puis
je
je
vais faire.
clique sur le lien que Joanne m'a envoyé.
Oui, c'est ça.
OK, c'est bon.
C'est bon.
Merci.
Yep.
I was the one muted. My apologies. Report out of closed session, Madame Camille Laflamme.
Yes, we still see closed session in progress.
Okay, Mademoiselle Leroy, if you could take that down and put us.
Yeah, it's already been taken down.
Okay, just your screen is still shared, but the camera is on me now.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Perfect.
Alors,
So we're reconvening at 8:27. First item, lease renewal. Council was briefed on the subject and a direction was given to staff on how to proceed and to report back to council. And also for item 2, 3, and 6, it's the same thing. So council was briefed on the subject and a direction given to staff on how to proceed and to report back to council. So it's the same thing for everyone. For the closed session minutes, they were presented and adopted. And number 4, well, it wasn't there, was removed at item 4.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Madame Camille Laflamme. We'll now move on to item 21, confirming bylaw. That bylaw 2020-065. Yeah,
yes, correct.
065 being a bylaw confirm the proceedings of the Council of the Corporation and Township of Russell at its regular council meeting held on June 1st, 2020. Be read a first, second, and third time and passed. Moved by Councillor Tarnowski, seconded by Councillor Lorraine. You guys are okay with that?
Yes.
Yes, perfect. Okay, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor?
Yes.
Oui.
Yep.
Yes.
Okay. Now, item 22, next meeting. The next regular public meeting of council will be held on Monday, June 15th, 2020. La prochaine réunion publique ordinaire du conseil aura lieu le lundi 15 juin 2020. And we are now adjourned at 8:30 p.m. Thank you very much, everyone. Merci beaucoup à tous.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good night.
Have a great evening.
Bye-bye.
Bye.